In July of 2005, several of the RECC directors went on a tour with the Cooperative Communicator Committee down to Pittsfield to look at Illinois Rural Electric Cooperative's 1.65 megawatt Vestas unit. And I remember we were standing underneath that huge turbine. We were talking to each other, and several of the directors said, you know, why doesn't RECC try to put up a wind turbine, see if we can get some financing? And I said, you know, I think that's a great idea. Let's talk to the rest of the board about it, and we'll see if we can make it happen.
You know, green energy is important. We believe our members think green energy is important. And I think we wanted to try to develop whatever we thought we could and what we could afford. I think for a small co-op, we're pretty progressive, and we saw that our members wanted this and wanted to see this project, and I think it's going to be good for our co-op.
In February of 2006, the board had a special board meeting. We ended up hiring Tom Wind to do a feasibility study to see if we had fast enough wind speeds in RECC's territory and exactly how much the cost would be. We realized that if we had a certain percentage of the project funded with grant money, we could make it happen. In the end, we received $375,000 from USDA in the form of a 9006 grant. We also received $225,000 from the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity and $150,000 from the Illinois Clean Energy Community Foundation for 10 years of our renewable energy certificates. In all, we received $750,000 in grant money. The remainder of the project was financed with 0% interest through the Clean Renewable Energy Bond Program, which was part of the Energy Policy Act of 2005. One of Tom Wind's projects was to actually try to determine if we had fast enough wind speeds in our service area to justify a utility-grade turbine. I remember we're in a board meeting going over the wind maps, and we noticed a speck of very high wind speeds down near Farmersville along the interstate. None of us knew exactly what that was, but Dave White said, you know, that's the old coal tailings pile from the Freeman 1 coal mine. Well, at first we kind of dismissed it as a possibility, but the more we thought about it, we said, you know, we need to investigate that further.
Dave Stuva called me and asked if the state would be willing to partner with them to provide a site for the wind turbine, and that they had determined that the best place in the region for that site was on top of this old slag pile that had been deeded to the state as a hunting area. And we had worked very hard to restore the area over about a 10-year period. And I smiled and I thought, that is just a tremendous idea. And it took a little while. We needed to go through all the right hurdles and prepare the proper leases and talk to people and make sure we did everything properly. So we proceeded to work cooperatively to provide the site. There's a small payment to the state for the use of the site, but it's minimal. In return, the community gets clean energy and on top of an old slag pile, which you just can't ask for anything sort of more perfect than that.
At that time, Patrick Quinn was just the lieutenant governor, and he was really excited about his participation in the state of Illinois in the green energy that's going on. The Department of Natural Resources, state of Illinois property that is a brown site.
We as a society here in Illinois and across our country have to work together and use our good old-fashioned American common sense and ingenuity and our ability to put together partnerships to replace energy that we sometimes get from foreign countries and foreign places. We've had the tremendous cooperation of our Illinois Department of Natural Resources, which is the owner of this reclaimed gob pile. And we want to take gob piles across Illinois and turn them into opportunity. If we can use our imagination and our creativity and our American ability to create wind power in our own backyard of Illinois, from central Illinois. And this is the first state-owned property to have a wind turbine, and I think it is a very special day indeed. I do want to acknowledge the rural electric co-ops in Illinois. They electrified our state 75 years ago or so. You know, back then in Illinois, there were some parts of rural Illinois that didn't have electricity, and the rural electric co-ops led the way for for rural Illinois to get electricity for appliances and for all the things we take for granted. So we thank them, and in particular, we want to thank the Rural Electric Convenience Cooperative, which really had the vision, saw the opportunity, connected with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, connected with the folks in Washington. We want to thank Senator Obama and Senator Durbin, Congressman John Chimkus. They all worked as a team.
We were very fortunate to be involved with IDNR and Department of Natural Resources in this process. I believe the state of Illinois wants to produce green energy, and that worked real well with Rural Electric Convenience wanting to participate in wind generation also. The fact that our study come back and said that was one of the best sites for wind in our service territory was a tremendous benefit for the GobNob site. I mean, taking an old coal pile and turning it into productive energy from the wind is a very fortunate aspect of this project. And as I said, Department of Natural Resources is working with us in the state of Illinois has been a real positive aspect of the whole project.
In the fall of 2007, we started to build the access road, which would give us access from Mine Avenue up to the Turbine site. In the summer of 2008, they actually started construction on the foundation. And I remember when they brought in the steel tubes, actually it looked more like steel grain bins that they were going to put into the ground, and of course fill with concrete and other filling to form the foundation. They ended up digging a hole into the coal tailings pile, which was about 22 feet deep to 24 feet deep. And I remember the track co operator was very impressed on how solid of a foundation it was, because after you get past the first 3 foot of topsoil, you really are digging down into the old coal waste that was taken out through the mining process. But we did bore tests on it, and it came back as an exceptionally good foundation. So they were able to basically dig a hole almost 22 to 23 feet deep and not have any cave-ins whatsoever. We tried to use local contractors whenever possible. We also used Treg Carruthers to put in the road and to do a lot of the dirt work up at the top. They set an outer tube, put concrete around that. They then set an inner tube with the 20-foot long bolts that would eventually hold the tower base in place, filled that with concrete, and then filled a concrete plug in the center cylinder, as well as filling it with sand and dirt. One reason we wanted to get the foundation completed in July of 2007 is they typically like the concrete to set up 4 to 5 months in advance before you actually install the turbine tower and the generator on top of it. That gave us plenty of time because we were expecting the turbine to arrive in December, which it did, and the concrete was set up perfectly. All of the concrete was manufactured locally at the Pogampol plant, and that company did a great job on making sure that the concrete was mixed correctly. The concrete was there in a timely manner. They were great to work with. We certainly wouldn't have been able to do the project as efficiently as we did without their assistance.